point? Did you come to know Christ at an early age, later age? Did you grow up in a church? Was your parents Christians? Just give us a little background there.
So I was raised in a Christian home.
Okay.
We were of the Lutheran denomination, so I went to Lutheran school from kindergarten to 8th grade. Then I moved on to high school. Really didn't stay in church because basketball took me away from church. Like, my youth group was like, well, you've chosen basketball over us. So my mom was Baptist, my dad was Lutheran, and I had come to know the Lord when my mom snuck me to a Baptist church over deer season, and while my dad was away hunting, and that was the first time I was exposed to the style of a Baptist church. And but I really felt like I connected there, like the word was shared, and I'm certain that the word was shared in the Lutheran church. I don't know. I would zoom out, like I didn't, but for whatever reason, this pastor connected with me. He gave a wonderful sermon, and I went home going, Mom, what's this all about? Like, I love this. I love the style of worship. I love all of this. And so she had a conversation with me about what it meant to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And my dad was very, very open to me making sure that I would stay a part of the local body. And so that happened at 9 years old, so I was kind of the Baptist in the Lutheran school for several years, and I was the only Baptist, and so my sermon notes didn't match anybody else's sermon notes, but it had to come out and go, well, I'm actually a closet Baptist, but all that to say that was all in fun. And then once I went off to high school, the youth group they were not athletic. I was the only athlete in the whole youth group. And so I just threw myself right into Jefferson City High School. I went from 26 in my graduating class of 8th grade at Trinity to 933 freshmen in Jefferson City High School. So if it hadn't been for basketball, I'm afraid I would have been, in the wrong crowd. Basketball pulled me out of all that and gave me purpose, gave me community. It gave me a group of people that I could connect with, because I never saw the folks I went to, parochial school with again, really. But all that to say, I had gotten away from church, gotten away from my relationship with God, until my sophomore, junior year of high school. I had a wonderful lady from our church that connected with me, came and took pictures of our basketball games, and we watched her films. And she was the one who happened to be from my church and connected with me in a way that I really didn't want her there in my high school career, because she was the one that went before me and, kind of told me what parties to not attend, kind of kept me out of that trouble. She'd call my mom if I was planning on going somewhere that was kind of questionable, and she kind of held me accountable. And so it wasn't until, I kind of had a breaking point, because my junior year, I came down with mono, and I was so sick, and I had just played my first varsity game, and I was so excited, but I was very sick, and I never walked back out onto the varsity court again. I went to practices and that sort of thing, but at Jeff City, once you lose your spot, there's so many other kids that can fill your spot. So I was pretty mad with God at that point. I was like, really? I've spent my whole life, getting better at the sport and trying to have a good sportsmanship and that sort of thing. And I really had made basketball my God more than anything. And so I walked away from basketball for a bit. And then after we got married, was when we went back to church. We got married in the church, but we tried to do everything that we thought our parents, that took our parents 20 years to do. We tried to accumulate all of that in the first year of our marriage, and we just didn't have the right direction. And I can remember just being at the lowest of low. Like, I lost my job. My husband and I weren't sure we were going to stay married after the first year. Just life was not going well at all. And I remember standing in the basement of our church. My mom was the church cook, and she was listening to my pity party of how bad life was. And I was invited to be a counselor at Youth Development Week, and I hadn't been in church in 2-3 years or more, just Easter, Christmas, and occasionally. So, but right there, I made the decision to go away for a week to be a counselor at a camp for teenage girls, 9th and 10th grade girls, be a mom for 9th and 10th grade girls. And I quickly learned at that week's camp that the students that I was in charge of had a better relationship with Christ than I did. And I remember Christy, my very first night, I was supposed to lead a devotion with these girls, and I was just lost. I was lost. I had literally, when I agreed to go on this camp, I picked up my Bible out of a box at my house and dusted the dust off of it and was just flipping through the Bible going, oh yeah, I've been here, done this, I can do this. And that night, Christy said, Miss Alberts, can I please, lead the devotion tonight? And I'm like, why, yes, you absolutely can, And I listened as she shared this wonderful devotion, and she was 9th grade at the time. And then the very next night had another girl, Miss Alberts, can I do what Christy did last night? And I said, absolutely. Boy, this is getting easy, And by Wednesday night, the Lord had gotten hold of me, and I realized that I was not where I was supposed to be, and this was not what God had expected out of me and my relationship with Him, that I had walked away. And that night, one of the gentleman that asked me to be the counselor at this camp he asked me, he said, if you died tonight, and Jesus said to you, why should I let you into my heaven? What would you say? And in all of those years of, studying the Bible in school and religion class and going to Sunday school and youth things, I didn't know what the answer was. And so he led me through the scriptures and through especially John 3:16, of course, and telling me that, he loved me. He loved me, and it wasn't about everybody else. It was how he loved me. And that was the first time that I heard the message that Christ died for me and to save me from myself and from all of the stuff that I had put between me and him, and that he was going to redeem me. And man, that night was, I'll never forget that night. And that's when I was called to ministry to be a Sunday school teacher and work with youth. I swore to my mom, I was just like, I just don't know what to do. I said, I don't know where to start. And before we even left that camp, that former youth pastor put a quarterly in my hand and he said, you start tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. And so that's when I felt like that's where, God said, come back. And I did, and my life was completely different after that. The very next day, we went back from camp. First Sunday, I'm walking into a Sunday school classroom trying to figure out how I'm going to do this Sunday school lesson, and we ended up talking about the camp and all the different testimonies around camp. And it just was I'll never forget that group of girls, because that has been, a huge impact in my life. And those girls are now married with their own children. So, and probably leading youth groups somewhere. So that was my journey to then. Only 18 months later, Bobby Show's inviting me to go on this mission trip, and I was just like, what is that?
Hey, thanks for watching this short with us today. And if you like it, check out our full episodes on our channel and website. We'll put those in the links below. And as always, Scott,
like and subscribe. Or subscribe and then like. Whatever order you want, really.
Whatever order you like.
Yeah.
Thanks.